Plain and simple, Indiana Fever fans were just wrong about head coach Christie Sides. To start with some basic numbers to compare how Indiana was in May and June versus how they've played since July 1st. In May and June, they were 8-12 overall with the number 6 offense, so league average, number 9 in pace of play. Since July 1st, however, they are 10-4, number 1 offense, number 2 in pace. As far as their defense as well, in the first half of the season so far, they were the worst defense in the W since July 1st, number 7 defense, which is pretty respectable considering how elite they've been offensively. My favorite part about their offense and a focus for this video is how they use screens, not just on the ball, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but just off-ball screens. It makes defending them super tough because you need multiple elite chasers. Chasing role is a tough role in defense. You think of point of attack, you think on-ball defenders, you also think of like rim protectors. But the chasers on the wing, having to chase around Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark is an impossible task. Like this season, they are number 1 in 2-point percentage off screens at 51.9%. They are also number 1 in the W in 3-point percent off screens at 42.1%. With this stat, they are the only team above 50% from 2 and 40% from 3 in the league pass era, which is since 2016. As far as just a breakdown of how individual players are off screens, for Caitlin first, this season she is shooting 44.6% from 3 on 1.7 attempts per game. This is the best in the league. She leads the league in points per game off screens as a rookie. Yes, as a rookie she's doing this. And what makes it so difficult, this shouldn't be anything new, anything surprising, but with Caitlin off screens, you can't be a second behind because if you're a second late, you get knocked on a screen, it's over for you. You're giving her space, and it's an easy three-pointer. Like here, you see a pin down screen for Caitlin Clark. Victoria Vivens gets caught in the screen. That gives Caitlin a lot of space. Like this, to her, is a wide open shot. For some shooters, this is like a contested shot, but for Caitlin, this is easy, and yeah, it's just an easy shot there. And then with K. Mitch, the role is a little bit different as far as how Indiana uses her off screens. With her 2-point ability off screens, a lot of what Indiana likes to do with her is to get her curling off these screens, getting to a mid-range shot or a layup at the rim. For her this season, she is 54.5% from 2 on 1 attempt per game. This is number 3 in the W in two-pointers made off screens. Just a couple play breakdowns with this ability for her. This is probably the best clip to just describe all of the aspects of what makes her such a good player off screens from 2. As you can see here, there's a lot going on both sides of the action. First of all, you see Christy Wallace handling the ball with 2 different screens coming from the weak side, a double drag type screen, to get Kelsey Mitchell the ball around the free throw line area. Jordan Horston gets caught on the second screen, forcing Ezzy Mabigor to switch. And what's so impressive about how Sides and Indiana uses their screening actions is, with a typical team, this is the end of it. You are driving downhill, Kelsey Mitchell is going right to the rim. But what Indiana likes to do is clears out Caitlin Clark. Like right here, Caitlin's being guarded by Skylar Diggins-Smith. They run the same action, pretty much going in the opposite direction. So a totally different thing happening on both sides of the court. This pulls Nneka Ogwumike a little bit over from the weak side, and her eyes, as you can see here, are going back and forth between what K. Mitch is doing on the strong side versus what Caitlin's doing running off 2 screens on the weak side. It's total confusion. There's so much space as well in that strong side area. It's empty side. There's so much space. There's pretty much no help defender in the area. She nashes the screen so she doesn't go right to the rim. She goes around and then finishes through traffic. Ezzy is my defensive player of the year, and this isn't like the best matchup, but you would much rather go up against the 6'4" big on a switch versus Jordan Horston if you're Kelsey Mitchell for sure at 5'8". So I just think it's not even as much about what Kelsey Mitchell does in the finish. It's how Indiana sets up these actions to give them so many options, because a lot of the actions with basketball teams now are about having options versus having a set play with one set outcome with them, if that makes sense. And then from three, Kelsey Mitchell this season is 39.3% off screens on 0.8 attempts per game. A little bit different to what they do with Caitlin. The screens are lower. With Caitlin's range, it doesn't compare to what K-Mitch can do. It's more stationary, more traditional, a little bit behind the three-point line versus shooting like 5 to 10 feet behind the three-point line. So the screens are a little bit lower, but still how Aliyah Boston screens between a lot of different actions, different angles, both on the ball, off ball, one of the best screeners in basketball with just her size, mobility, and being able to set these screens and create contact is super impressive skill, and it's a valuable skill too for this Indiana team. Like what they do would not be possible without a screener like Aliyah. And then around K-Mitch and Caitlin on the wing, you have Lexi Hull and Katie Lou Samuelson. What's different about their skill sets is they're strictly just spot-up shooters. With Hull's mechanics, with Katie Lou's mechanics, it doesn't really translate to running off screens, running off movement. It's much more just stand in the corner, stand in the slot, catch the ball when you get it, and make open threes. And that's a valuable skill. Like if you see here, they have only taken like less than 10 off-screen threes this entire season, and they've only taken like 1.1 per game, 37.5% from three on those. Super low volume, like I said. But they don't need those players to be elite off-screen shooters. You have Kelsey Mitchell, you have Caitlin Clark, you have Aliyah Boston, who can score in the post, but also a great screener. Like I said, being able to like work on the ball and be a passer out of the post. With all of those skill sets, then you have Melissa Smith as well, who has some impressive wing skills, perimeter skills, and you just need players to play off the ball, low usage, and naturally with those players around you, you're going to get a ton of open threes per game. And they have capitalized on those of late more than they did in the early part of the season. And like I said, over 80% of their off-screen three-point attempt field goals, or just not even three-point attempt, but just overall field goals off screens, come from Caitlin and Kelsey Mitchell. Another aspect of Caitlin's game that I believe has been extremely valuable to what Indiana has done, and also how Christie Sides has really adjusted her approach from a tactic standpoint, is getting Caitlin on the ball more, getting Kelsey Mitchell off the ball more, having her work in this off-screen role a little bit more, catch and shoot threes. We'll talk about that in a little bit in a second, but from May and June, Caitlin was taking 14.4 pick and roll possessions per game on average. Since July 1st, that is up to 19 per game. So almost 5 more per game, which is a lot in the grand scheme of things. This season, Caitlin ranks number 1 in points per game generated out of pick and roll, both as a passer and a scorer. This mark is ahead of Sabrina Ionescu, who is at 2, Skyway Higgins-Smith at 3, and then Courtney Williams at 4. And then as far as how this compares to the best pick and roll ball handlers since 2016, for points generated out of pick and roll, this is number 3 overall this season in 2024 from Caitlin Clark as a rookie. Number 2 is Diana Taurasi's 2018 season. Number 1 is Courtney Vandersloot's 2020 season, and then behind Caitlin is Sabrina Ionescu at 15.6 in 2020. With just how this change has happened for Indiana, getting Caitlin on ball more, getting Kelsey Mitchell off ball more, this is a prime example. So in May and June, Kelsey was taking 3.9 catch and shoot three-point attempts per game. Since July 1st, that is up to 5.6. Overall on the season, she is shooting 43.6% on catch and shoot threes, which is one of the better marks in the league, and she is averaging 6.4 points per game off screens. With that, it's third in the W. So just how she's been able to maximize her game playing off Caitlin, you can tell that their synergy is so much better than it was early in the season, and that's something to consider as well with Christie Sides. When you're implementing a player like Caitlin Clark, who is your number 1 leader in offensive flow, she is who your offense is based around. When you add a player like Caitlin, you are changing your approach to offense because what she does is so unique, and it's just not a skill set that every team has. So you're not usually going to have your scheme built around that specific player. To run through some film for this section of the video, I want to focus on Caitlin's ability to operate at a pick and roll. And with this, it's how she gets blitzed more than any other player in the W statistically, and how, to me, being able to draw 2 on the ball, have your main defender on you plus a help defender is the most valuable skill for any point guard in this league. We're not even talking about like super complex reads where she is like making some insane cross-court skip pass, one-handed, no look. It's not even that. This part is more just about the gravity she has as an on-ball player. So like you see here, we have a side pick and roll with Timmy Fagbenle screening for Caitlin Clark. With the screen, you are seeing Isabel Harrison come over, double the ball, 2 on the ball. This forces Caitlin to make a short roll pass to Timmy. With this, you see Cardozo slide down to the nail, and that gives Damiris Dantas open space for a three-point shot. And this is just the advantages that are created by Caitlin Clark's gravity. And just another example here on this possession, we see early offense. Caitlin Clark is being guarded by Dejanay Carrington, one of the best on-ball defenders in basketball. Aliyah Boston coming up the screen, super high pick and roll. Not many teams can have a screen set this high for a pick and roll because the range of Caitlin Clark is insane. But like you see here, 2 on the ball. Bree Jones comes over to double the ball. Pretty hard double here. It's not even like a hedge and recover. Hard double. Aliyah Boston on the drive. You see Alyssa Thomas just collapse into the paint. Marina Mabry also comes over and help. With this here, having a screener like Aliyah who can screen but can also roll quick, make passes out of the roll with ease, plus a guard like Caitlin who can draw 2 on the ball, that combination is perfect because like you see here, the 2 defenders come on Caitlin, 2 defenders come to Aliyah, she makes a pass out of the corner, Lexi Hull, wide open 3, it goes in. Like I said, if you're Lexi Hull, you don't need to be some elite movement shooter. These are the shots you need to hit just to provide value to this Indiana team because you have Kelsey Mitchell, you have Caitlin Clark, you have Aliyah Boston. Those players are all commanding 20+% usage. For Lexi Hull to just hit these catch and shoot threes, that's what she's done since pretty much the Olympic break, and that's been extremely valuable for them. And I just think there's so much promise with what Caitlin can do from a scoring standpoint, from a passing standpoint, and then how her game complements the rest of Indiana's team, and then how Christie Sides has set them up for success. It took a while, it was rough early, but when you look back at, their struggles in May and June, it was worth it. Like, you needed to go through the growing pains. They played so many games. This is what they needed, and this is what set them up to really, in my opinion, give a team a run for their money in the playoffs. This team's young, they're hungry, they don't have a ton of playoff experience, some players with experience, but still, they're young and hungry. And yeah, people need to apologize to Christie Sides. She has really maximized this entire team, and a lot of people were wrong about her. And she's been one of the best coaches in the league. Not going to win Coach of the Year because of Cheryl Reeve, what she's done for that Minnesota team, exceeding all expectations as an elite defensive team, but also what they've done offensively. Just a beautiful brand of team basketball. So if it wasn't for that, Christie Sides is also in that conversation for Coach of the Year, Coach of the Month in August, I believe. So props to her for that. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about how Indiana has played over the last couple of months? Christie Sides' offense, Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aliyah Boston. Just let me know in the comments below. Anyway, subscribe for more WNBA content. If you have any other ideas in the comments below, let me know. Anyways, I'll see y'all next time.